Hi everyone, today we're taking a look at Cursor, a code editor / IDE. As I understand it, Cursor is a fork of VS Code that's just built to be a lot more integrated with AI and language model capabilities. We're going to download it, try a few things, and hopefully by the end of the video we'll know if it's something that me or you could add to our day-to-day and become more productive. Okay, let's go. So the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and get it downloaded. You'll probably have to create an account because they've recently added that so that people don't abuse it. And there's going to be a few steps once you have it installed to sort of set up some settings and things of that sort. It's going to ask you to add whatever shortcuts you used in your old editor, and I've got the Vim setting sort of enabled. You can import your extensions from VS Code and things like that. And you'll then log into your account that you created previously. So now that we have it installed, you can go ahead and run Cursor, and you'll be greeted by a basically tutorial, which at this point is just a couple of files. There's a JavaScript and a Python folder with some example projects and some other sort of code snippets in various languages. So I want to go over here to this Python project, and one of the first things we're recommended to do here is to generate some code with Command K. Okay, so this or Control K if you're on Windows. Now ask the CLI for a game based on tic-tac-toe. So that's what they're just telling us to try out. So let's just go ahead and try that. So let's just do create a tic-tac-toe game in Python, I'm going to say. Okay, so we can see it's writing some sort of utility functions to run a tic-tac-toe game. All right, now once this is done, we can go ahead and accept if we want the changes it made. And honestly, this looks fine for a basic game, I think. I don't know. We could also have it write tests, which could be cool, but I'm just going to hit accept. So now we have the game of tic-tac-toe. So let's put 1, and we'll put here. Okay, great. Okay, so we saw how the game works as a CLI, basically, game. What if we want to maybe make this a GUI, so there's a bit of an interface? So Cursor instructs us to basically highlight and tell it how we want to change the game in some way. So let's do that. I'm going to highlight everything. I'm going to do Command K, and if you've done any Python game sort of things, you know, you can use tkinter. So I'm going to say use tkinter to create a GUI for this tic-tac-toe game, and let's see what happens. Okay, so it does the import. It changes the existing code as well so that it works with all the new code. Okay, now you can see that it wants me to accept the changes. So let's just go ahead and do that. I'm really not even going to check them. We'll see what happens. Boom, boom, boom. And I can see how this might have been somewhat detrimental to someone who's just learning how to write code. So maybe this isn't the best tool for beginners because it kind of robs them of the sort of the learning experience, but it's definitely helpful when you sort of pretty much already know what's going on. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and run the game now, see if we can get a UI of some sort. And okay, so it built it, but it's actually very small. I'm sure you could ask Cursor to change that. And here's basically tic-tac-toe with a GUI. And we really didn't write any code. We just sort of told the IDE what to create. Cool. So now I want to take a look at this step number 2 here, which is basically one of the other cool features, which is that you can basically talk to your editor and talk to the code, etc., kind of like using an LLM like you would ChatGPT, except it's sort of integrated into your environment here. So I'm going to do Command L and just ask it something. And as it says here, you can say use the @ to show code files and docs to the AI, right? So I'm just going to do explain the create board function in the @main.py file. Right, and you can see it sort of loads it up here, the that file content, and then you can ask the question. So I'll just press enter, and as you can see, it'll give me a generation, much like ChatGPT would or something. But as I said before, the difference is that all your code is here, so you can see how you can extend this to like a big project basically, and either sort of interrogate pieces of code, use this to find bugs, or even sort of explain documentation. Right, so I'm going to stop this here so we don't use any more tokens. And yeah, I think that's actually a pretty cool feature, in that you don't have to keep going and pasting over to ChatGPT. Okay, so let's move away from the tutorial here a bit. So I'm going to say create an HTML skeleton with a title that says fake title and a body that says some random lorem ipsum. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, let's go ahead and copy this and try to run it. I went ahead and pasted this into an index.html file. Let's go ahead and run this. Take a look at the site. Okay, so here you can see what it looks like. It's pretty small. Let's go ahead and add maybe a header. Let's see what happens when I do that. So I'm going to select the body area here and just say Command K, add a header in the form of an H1 to this section that says subscribe to Tyler, what's good? Okay, let's see what happens. All right, wonderful. So here I'm probably going to accept the changes, save. Let's go ahead and check it out. And here we go. Now what I'd like to do is maybe add some styling, right? So you'll just select the whole page and say, make the H1 bright orange, add a green background to the P, and make the text white. Let's run that. You can see it added this style tag, and it's targeting the elements, which is cool. So I'm going to accept, save it. Go check it out. And there we go. Okay, cool. So obviously this isn't super beautiful, but you get the gist. Okay, let's do something else. Let's maybe write some JavaScript. The last thing I want to try is maybe a more real world type of project where, let's say I want to add some sort of payment stuff to a project, and I'm going to use Stripe for that. So I'm going to say something like create a Next.js handler function in this format that, and let's just be kind of vague here, has a switch statement for Stripe payment webhooks. Let's just see what happens here. Okay, so it's created the route. This is pretty good. Pretty good. I mean, this looks about right. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this and save it to this file. Okay. Now I know that there's obviously stuff missing. So let's go ahead and try to, well, first of all, I'm going to add some sort of things that Next.js would need. So I'll go ahead and add some imports here. Probably need to do this. At least this is how I've usually do it. It might be different now. How about we want to add one more sort of event? So I'll highlight this and I'll say something like add an event for the case in which a subscription was updated. How about that? We want to get the webhook for that. See it, make the edits, so it doesn't need to change any of that. Okay, cool. And that looks good. So we'll accept that. Now, obviously, let me remove some of these so I'm not using like extra code or whatever. Delete that. And let's just say that for this situation, when a subscription gets updated, I want to maybe change something in a database. And maybe I'm using a Supabase. So I'll say something like edit this so that a table called profiles is updated in Supabase, where the column Stripe customer corresponds to the event.data.object.customer data. So let's just run this and see what happens. Hopefully it uses some sort of async function here. Okay. And this actually looks right. So I'll accept that. And if there's issues, obviously you could always go back and change it, but we pretty much got this written pretty quickly. You could, of course, go on and copy pasted it, etc., etc. But in the case you maybe haven't done this before, this would be very useful. Of course, I would recommend checking the docs, making sure everything's up to date here because this is a payment thing, but you could do the same sort of thing for auth, etc., etc. Okay, there you have it. We tried a couple things. I thought it was pretty cool, especially in generating sort of boilerplate, like a lot of these sort of code completion language model tools. As I mentioned before, there may be some downside to maybe a beginner using it, just like Copilot, because does a lot of auto completing and sort of writing code for you. So it may be a bit of a crutch, but all in all, I think it's a pretty cool tool and I'll likely be using it more in my day-to-day. What do you guys think? Do you use another tool that has similar capabilities? Which one is it? I'd really love to know. Let me know in the comments. That's it for this one. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.